What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Stizzo Speaks. Welcome to another episode of Coffee Talks Live, the podcast where we talk about all things leadership, lifestyle, love, and leveling up. So happy that you're here. And let's just get the craziness out the way right now. And that's go share this with someone that you think would be interested in hearing from two amazing, empowered, beautiful women today. Also, click the like, comment on this post after, and share it with your community, set your notifications, all that other stuff they talk about on YouTube. Is that how it happens? Maybe. But again, I'm your girl, Stizzo Speaks. We're getting ready to go live. I have an amazing guest today. She goes by the name of Sara Melcher out of Boston, and she is the founder of Empowered Women Connect. And I'm super excited to have her on because as a women's empowerment coach, speaker, and mentor, it's extremely important that we continue to bridge the gap in our communities. So if y'all ready for this episode, make some noise. And I'm getting ready to bring on my first guest, or my only guest today. We are live. Sara. See if she's here. She's here. She's in the back room. So we are live.
What's up?
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Super excited to chat with you today.
I am excited. So I was literally posting on Instagram and I was like, oh, it's 4. Let me get on this thing. So before we kick it off, I just want everybody to know. So like I've actually never officially met Sara in person. Right. We're from the same hometown, Boston. So I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to, drop some gems for the community and just really talk about our journeys and what we do and our purpose in this mission of empowering women daily, and also men and children and, everyone in between.
Everybody, right?
So before I intro myself, go ahead and tell everyone who you are, what you do. Give us a little backstory.
Oh my God. I was just thinking, where do I even start? So like she said, my name is Sara Melcher. I wear many hats and I wear them with grace. So I'm super excited to share that with you guys. I am an empowerment speaker. I am a spiritual life coach. I am a nurse. For 8 years, I've been a nurse. I am a mother of 2 beautiful boys. And like you said, I'm the founder of Empowered Women Connect. And I'm the co-founder of Shop the Empowered Athletic Wear. So nice. That's a lot of hats. But I'm really proud that I do it with grace. And I'm really excited to share more about that today.
For sure. That's dope. I'm wearing a hat for you today.
Yeah, I love it.
So here's one more hat to add, right? I love that. Many hats. And I think oftentimes too, as women who are entrepreneurs, who are very driven, who are like really about leveling up and just creating the lifestyle that we want, we oftentimes dibble and dabble into many different fields. Yeah. So that's interesting. So nursing, what do you do currently in your nursing field?
So I'm actually in aesthetics now. So I work at a med spa, but I work at a holistic med spa. So nice. Just even more backstory, I've been a nurse for 8 years. I've also been in health and wellness for 8 years. So personal training, nutrition, all that jazz behind the scenes. So now I get to bring the 2 worlds together, working at a med spa, a holistic med spa, where I do like IVs and wellness and gut health, all these beautiful things. So it really I'm really passionate about helping people be healthy as a whole. So this really brings everything full circle.
Gotcha. And so did the holistic life coach start first, and then the women's empowerment came as a stem from that, or what was kind of your path and your journey?
You want the timeline? You want the timeline? Okay. So I was always into health and fitness, right? I was always into health and fitness, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, how it was a healthy coping mechanism for me. So once I realized that going to the gym was actually healing for me, I fell madly in love with it. I was in the gym, even as a mother, 6 days a week, because I knew it was my time. I had to be there. I had to do it. I had to take that time for myself. So quickly I fell in love with that. And I've always been a leader of some sort, right? So knowing that, this works for me, more women need to know this, more moms need to do this. So then I got certified as a personal trainer, and I was literally in Jamaica Plain in Boston, training moms at the park. Now we're doing this. The kids would be playing. My kids were little at the time. They're 11 and 14 now. They were babies at the time, and we'd be at the park training the moms, getting the groups together. And from there, I would say, to be honest, I realized over the years, there's so much more to being healthy. It's not just going to the gym 6 days a week. It's shifting your mindset. It's growing your mindset. It's building self-confidence. It's falling in love with yourself. So then from there, I learned about life coaching on my own journey. I had a life coach and I started this healing journey and overcame some crazy stuff in my life. So once again, I was like, oh my gosh, more women need to know about this. You can actually heal. You can actually change your life. Like everything can change for you with these tools. So from there, I shifted into life coaching. And I know now I could have just brought everything together, but I was so excited about life coaching that I just totally shifted. So I went from health and wellness into just mindset, life coaching, helping women heal. And then from there, I would say it just continued to grow. And now I will say literally everything has come full circle as far as I have a signature event in Boston. It's called Body Fit Soul Lit, which is literally mind, body, soul. So it's literally come back together: mindset, life coaching, healing, body movement, nourishment. So it really has all come full circle, but that's how it led up to that. And now I'm just like, everybody needs to know about this. We're doing events, like we're speaking at events. We're telling everybody of that. Yes, you can heal. Yes, you can do this. You can do that. All of the above.
For sure. Absolutely. And I love that. And we talk so much. And when I say we, when I speak we, I mean us as a people, or even, those of us who are on a different path, a different journey to change our mindset and shift to more of the positive side. It's something that's talked about so often. We hear it a lot. And it's almost like sometimes I run into people who really don't understand what it means to shift the mindset and go into a different space, so that overall your health can grow and your being can really come true, and you walk walk with purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so when you talk about mindset shifting, what is important for you, Sara, when you think about your own mindset and how that translates to your clients?
Yeah. I teach a lot of self-awareness. Like self-awareness is the first step for me. In every program, even if I'm going to a workshop, I'm teaching like self-awareness. I'm like, all right, you're dropping all your negative thoughts right now. Yes. And you're going to face yourself. Like, what are the thoughts that are running through your mind every single day? Because like, even for myself, like I'll say things out loud and I'll be like, why would you even say that about yourself? Why would you even say that out loud? Wow. You know what I mean? Because one thing that people don't, really pay attention to, that, when energy, everything is energy, right? So anything you're speaking into life, like, can literally manifest, so I really try to be careful, but I'm also like very aware. Right. So even if I do catch myself saying something like that, I take accountability, like, okay, that's where you're at right now. But this is a new story we can tell ourselves, right? This is a new story you can tell yourself. So that's like one of the first things that I like to teach women is, all right, we're going to become aware of where we are. And then so this is where we are right now, but these are the tools we can use to shift that story. We can literally change that story for ourselves. And there's scientific proof. Like, if you don't believe it, look up Joe Dispenza. You know what I mean? Like, there's scientific proof that you can tap in to the subconscious and change the way you think.
Yeah. And it starts with, say it again?
Practice. It takes practice.
Yeah. It's practice. And the big point in there too is awareness, right? Yeah. It's like, because you can't beat yourself up for having thoughts that may not be positive every moment of the day. Because I mean, God, we have 50,000 thoughts a day, right? It's more about the awareness to say, okay, I understand what's happening in this present moment, and how do I shift it so that I change this negative thought or this negative saying into something positive, right? And so I worked a lot on the word try. And my best friend, he got that from the 1 Minute Millionaire. There's a book called the 1 Minute Millionaire. And I'm actually in the process of reading it now. And they say, put a rubber band around your wrist. And every time you say the word try, pop the rubber band so that you can get into the habit of not saying try, because we say try so much. Yeah. And it's like, if you try to go and get up and go to the gym, what's going to happen? You may or you may not make it. But if you get up and you're like, I'm going to the gym today, you're more than likely going to get up and go to the gym. So being aware of those moments when they happen are truly, truly important. So I love that everything is like coming full circle. The event is happening because, it's a full shift. So talk to us about the women's empowerment side and sort of what's the mission for women empowered connects. No, empowered women
Empowered
connect.
Women Connect.
I wrote it 4 times today and I was like, I'll get this right. Empowered Women Connect.
Right.
What's the mission for
Yeah.
Empowered Women Connect, and kind of what's your big vision and your plan and your goal for that?
Yeah, so that's been coming, I think, so everything that I'm building today, sometimes it confuses people, but I'm like, I know every single thing I've done has been with intention, right? From the life coaching business, from the events that I'm speaking at, from Body Fit Soul Lit to now this year, I actually just launched this. Where are we now? What month are we in? I don't even know. So
March.
In the fall, I launched Empowered Women Connect, and people were like, "Yo, what are you doing now?" I'm like, the same thing I've been doing for 5 years. I just put a name on it.
Right.
And to be honest, like in the past, I was afraid. Empowered Women Connect was always in my heart, in my head, but I was afraid to use it because everyone and their mother was using Empowered. But my business is called Empowered Self LLC. It's been that for years, you know what I mean? And then everybody and their mother started using Empowered, and I was like, oh man, like, am I gonna use this? But I just felt so aligned with what I was building, because it's exactly what it is. Empowered Women Connect. So Empowered Women Connect is for the entrepreneur that is seeking personal development, healing, and growth, right? So the goal is to launch. I host and launch events that give the woman visibility and opportunity. So that all the speakers that I've used and all of my events have been from the city, they're local, and I'm really passionate about that because there is so much talent here in Boston. Like there's so much talent here. The downside is that a lot of us have a stigma. They're like, oh, I'm a flying X, Y, and Z from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you have me, you have, so-and-so, you have so-and-so. Like there's so many people that are here with so much talent and so much to say that, I'm really passionate about giving them opportunity. And I'm really excited that I did that, because we had the event the last event we just had, we had a panel of local women, and the energy, the power in that room was just like, you can't even speak about it. You had to feel it. You had to be there. And that's exactly, like, I just kept thanking everybody. I'm like, wow, thank you for making this what it was supposed to be. Like the audience was engaged, the speakers were powerful, the energy was there, and like everyone just there literally inspiring and empowering each other, like you were literally, I don't want to say like in the city women don't support each other, but a lot of it's
you can say it.
A lot of it. So I mean, I have a really good support group in Boston. So like, I'm hopeful for the city.
Yep.
But let's be real. There's a lot of surface level, right? And I'm not surface level. And anything I do is deep. Like I can't even have a normal conversation like without going deep, because I'd be like, oh, why do you feel that, or what happened, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm just a deep person. So anything that I create, anyone that's working with me or coming to my events, I have to know that they're on that level with me. They're on that frequency, and we had some people that we found out were surface level.
Yep.
They were just there for, I don't even know what they were there for, but to be honest, it was like a dark cloud. It was like a dark cloud in the room. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we learned that on the journey, right? It's not anything like negative or whatever. We learned it on the journey, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm totally fine." Like, that person that shows up and wants to be negative and talks bad and doesn't support others, they make themselves look silly. So I'm here for the women that truly want to support each other, truly want to empower each other. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to share your business all over my social media, and I'm sharing it with the intention that I really want to support you. You know what I mean? Like that surface level stuff, it's got to go. Like, and that's the problem with Boston. There's a lot of jealousy. Well, not just Boston, everywhere. Humans in general, jealousy, lack, scarcity. I can't share my story because she might take my idea or this and the other. I don't come from that. I come from a place of abundance. And like, sometimes I share my goals and dreams with people, and they're like, "You sure you want to tell everybody that?" I'm like, why? They can go do it. They're not going to do it like me.
Right.
Exactly. So like when I started hosting events in 2020, everybody and their mother was hosting events, but I'm still here and I don't see a lot of those people.
Absolutely. And it's key to be honest and transparent in those moments, because there's someone watching or listening to this live right now, or if they're watching the playback, who are feeling the same way. Like, wow, my hometown, the city that I'm in, the people that I'm surrounded by are people that I don't feel like want to be uplifting, empowering, and like we're fighting and we're crabs in the barrel mentality. And we have to break out of that. And that's kind of where it is where I was coming from and starting women's empowerment on the West Coast, right? So leaving Boston for me, so I'll give a quick backstory of my personal journey and how I got here. When I was in middle school, I was bullied by two girls in the 8th grade. I moved to Boston when I was in the 8th grade. So what are you, like 11 or 12 maybe at that time? And so I remember these two girls, they would not leave me alone. Like, it was the craziest thing. And I didn't come from that in New York, right? And so I remember my, it was like physical education, I think they had back then, teacher saying to me, you know what? If you don't pay them any attention, they will leave you alone. Because for me, I had to defend myself. Like, I'm from New York. Like, we don't play those games, right? And so I always felt like I had to defend myself and talk back. And she was like, watch and listen. Ignore them, they will go away. And that's truly what happened. When I ignored them, they went away. But then I went to high school and I sort of dealt with the same thing. Like, women just did not rock with Stizzo. I was Stacy, but they didn't rock with me. And I was like, what is the issue, right? And my mom used to always tell me, you're light skinned, you're pretty, you got long hair, you're going to have issues. And I was like, but why? But that was, it was her story. She was just really giving me her story. That's all she knew, because she went through the same thing. And so as I went on, became a bartender, was in the nightlife heavy in Boston. Like, shout out to 617, shout out to everybody who like put me on and being in the nightlife. That was a big part of, my 20s, my early 20s, late, 20s, staying out, 4 days a week, but always had issues. And I was like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like, we need to come together and support each other, because I'm out, I'm seeing guys, they're dapping each other up. What's going on? Oh, I heard you opening a store, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the women are just not doing the same thing. We're competing for the man in the corner, or we're competing for the job, or we're competing for everything. Yeah. And so I was like, enough is enough. I want to see different. And that's where I started, going down the path and the journey of women's empowerment too, because, I was in a position where when I was younger, I was molested. So my worth was taken from me before I even had the opportunity to say, you know what, I understand and I know my worth. And so it's so important as women that we continue to encourage each other and uplift each other and empower each other from a place that's genuine. And when I think about women's empowerment and how I position myself in this lifestyle, I can empower someone on their journey and what they're doing, but I don't necessarily have to have you in my back pocket. Like, we don't have to be soul sisters for me to empower you and to encourage you. And, it's okay. But to your point, people come out, if you're going to support or be in that space, everything is energy. So your energy has to align with the overall mission. And it's a good thing that you identified that and notice that, because those people just don't belong. And I feel the same thing. I don't want anyone at any of my events who feel like, they're in a position where they purposely place themselves to be there for reasons of hate, doubt, or fear. Like, I don't want to engage in either of those things. Like, it's different to come in and not have the abundant mindset. Maybe you have a scarcity mindset and you feel like you don't have anyone, and then that changes. But to continue down that path, we keep that away. So I totally am with you on that. But people need to understand, if you don't know any better, we can't really grow.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is you made a lot of good points. Like, so my perspective is that the women that are in that space that, just refuse to give into the women empowerment, the support, they're unhealed, that, like you said, like I've experienced similar traumas. Like, so growing up, I would say like I say trauma journey, because there's been so much like trauma stacking. It started when I was 5 years old. My father was shot and killed when I was 5 years old. Right. So that left my mother, being a single mother, already suffered like a lot in her life. She picked us up and moved to Boston. I was born actually down south in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
So I moved to Boston, and so imagine, I moved to Boston. I had the deepest Southern accent you could imagine. I had this thick curly hair. My mother has, I'm American Indian. So my mother has bone straight hair, had no idea what to do with my hair. And so I had this puffy curly hair. I look like a little white girl, even though I'm Native American. So I look like a little white girl, and I got this deep Southern accent. I moved to the city. I was not only bullied, I was tormented. And I'm like, why don't y'all like me? Like, I was like, I was a little girl. I was 6 years old. And so like from 6 to, I would say probably 14, I suffered depression, bullying. Like, there was a time in middle school where I did not speak. I share this story a lot because people like, you, Sarah? I used to wear this long black puffy coat, and I wore it all year I would wear it to cover my body because I had also suffered like from molestation. So I didn't want anyone to see my body. I remember I went to the O'Brien in Boston. I was like the only white girl there. And I would wear this coat all day, every day, because I didn't want anyone to look at me. I didn't want anyone to see my body. If they spoke to me, I did not speak back. So I literally like did not speak my truth. I was not in this high vibration at all. I was literally suffering from depression and nobody knew about it. Not even my mother, because she was drowning in her own depression and addiction and all kinds of craziness. So I don't even know what happened. Like when I started high school, I just like decided that things were going to change for me. I don't even really remember the transition. I finally like took the coat off, let's say, took the coat off, and I started to build friendships because I had no friends in middle school because of that. And it's not that people didn't really try to be my friend. I had already built so much fear. I don't know if you would feel the same, like built so much fear that I didn't even want to be girls' friend. I didn't want to be friends with them because I'm like, they're just going to hurt me, or they're going to bully me, or they're going to stab me in the back. Like, are they even real? Like, there was so much fear. So I remember and walking into 9th grade, I went to Fenway, super small, one floor. One floor. We all still know each other. It's crazy. I remember I walked in and there was a group of girls and she called me over to sit with her. And I was like, oh my God, they want to be my friend? Like, what the fuck? Why? They want to be my friend. And we were together for 4 years, like that group. And it really, that really built confidence, right? It helped me build confidence. I went on to be a nurse. And to be honest, being a nurse helped me also to step into my power, to be confident. Because you're walking into these rooms, you don't know what the fuck you're walking into. I started nursing in one of the big Boston hospitals, like at, just 23 years old, brand new little girl, like as a nurse. And they're like, all right, go save this guy. You got to just step your game up. So all that truly prepared me for what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? And same thing, like creating a space where women are going to come together because I'm tired of all the other BS. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, we all have gone through stuff, but you know what? Like, there are so many tools and resources out here for you to heal and to elevate from that. Like, that story that I just told you, it's not my story anymore. It's a part of me, but that's not what I'm leading with my life with. I'm not leading my life with, every man does X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. I've had all that trauma experience. Of course, I attracted F-boys. I attracted, toxic relationships. I was engaged for 6 years. Why did I stay engaged for 6 years?
Yeah.
I wasn't in my power. I wasn't in my power. You know what I mean? Right. Like that, like things are, that's stuff that happens to you, but doesn't have to be your story for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And that's like one of the biggest messages that I have for women these days. Like, as I'm creating this environment and all these events for women, is like, you don't have to stay there.
Right.
Your life gets to change. You get to change. You get to expand. You get to elevate. You get to stop the cycles. You get to stop the cycles. Like, I have these 2 boys that have been along this journey with me, and they've experienced some traumatic things. And I'm like, hey, like, we get to change the story.
Right.
We get to change the story for ourselves. For sure.
And that's the biggest piece is understanding what your story is, where you came from, because the story matters, right? Because the story allows others to be able to connect. But to your point, you have to be able to manage working through those past traumas so that you can evolve into a better person and not allow the story or whatever happens to you to navigate the direction for you, because the direction has to be bigger and has to be better. And I feel like in the work that we do with with empowering women forward and making sure that they're on their safest journey and their best journey, it's all about understanding like the story matters, but it has to change. And so, I know you mentioned you don't remember the exact transition of when everything happened, high school. I mean, I'm going to be 40 this year. So, I mean, high school for me is kind of a blur. The parts and the bits and pieces that I do remember are like the traumatic experiences, quote unquote, right? But other than that, making the shift really matters, and being honest that it's healing is a journey that is ongoing, right? I feel like, and I don't know if you feel differently, and please share if you do, but I feel like healing is something that we have to be in the process of doing daily. So, we have our egos, we have our subconscious thoughts and things just pop up all the time. And we get into situations that look very similar to past traumas. And it's a difference of, again, the awareness versus allowing it to take over you. But healing is an ongoing process, especially for me. Like I have to re-heal certain traumas, quite often. And that's the understanding point of, all right, if I'm going back to this place more than once, what is this supposed to be teaching me?
Yeah.
And I think about like when you were in school and you took a test and you failed the test, right? You had to retake the test in order to pass the grade, get the grade that you needed to pass. You had to take the test over and get a certain score. And so I look at life the same way. If this trauma is coming back and it's affecting me in the same ways, what is it really trying to teach me that I'm not grasping or not understanding in the moment? Because that's why, God or whoever you believe in is not allowing you to pass.
Yeah.
It's because you didn't learn what you needed to learn in that experience. So you may have to go back to it. Have you had any moments like that you had to, or things that you're trying to heal right now that you have to continually work on?
Yeah, that's literally my life. So I'm crazy. I have literally like flip charts in my bedroom. Like, oh wait, this way, right?
You're not crazy. You're prepared.
I have like literally like the large sticky notes on my wall, and literally like I have, oh my gosh, affirmations, points. Like I literally walk myself through. Like I joke saying like if I have a bad day at work, I go home and I heal from that. I think every single person should have, I don't want to say has to, should have some sort of routine where they are releasing. I call it like literally a recalibration. Like I come home and release whatever energy is not mine. Because when we go into the world, especially, so I do, sometimes I do home care. So I'm a visiting nurse and I go into people's homes. Can you imagine going into someone's home, not only someone's home, but someone who's sick, usually living in poverty. Like I've had patients who don't even have food. And I'm like, I know I'm an empath. I take on all that energy. And then I come home and, my kids have a million things they need. And, forget like if I'm dating or something like that, like that's a lot of energy, right? So everyone should have some sort of routine to release the energy that is not theirs. And then from there, I literally have a routine where like I heal through things like, all right, what are the thoughts that I'm having? What are the feelings I'm having? And like you said, like, what are the things that are repeating for me, right? What am I supposed to learn here? And, making a plan, literally making an action plan for myself. Because if we're not taking action, then nothing's ever going to change. And I see this. So I teach a lot of women come to me after the toxic relationships because they know my story, right? They know my story. They know the dating patterns or, my kid's father, that history there. And it's very interesting because I'll tell them like, this is repeating for you. It's a cycle, right? A lot of women get so frustrated with men and men get frustrated with women and they're going at each other. And I'm like, why don't you both just take a step back and look at the pattern, look at the woman that you're attracting, look at the men that you're attracting, right? Because it becomes cyclical. It becomes a cycle in your life because you're probably not taking the time to actually reflect and learn the lessons. So then what happens? You attract the same kind of person, and then it's just an ongoing cycle. You're going through the same motions over and over again. And then you're like, oh, all these men ain't shit. All these women ain't shit. They just want to use you, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, like you're attracting the same kind of woman over and over again because you haven't even stopped to be alone. You haven't even stopped to reflect and heal. You're just on, Bumble and Tinder and whatever attract, like just getting all the women because you're addicted to it. Right. Let's be real. Like we're addicted to the human connection and being with someone and afraid to be alone. Right. And it's like that. And obviously like it's like that in all areas of life. But dating is like one piece that people like to slide under the rug. But it's very apparent. Like if you got traumas to heal, it will surface in your relationships because relationships are intimate and vulnerable. And it's going to bring all of those things to the surface very quickly. Right. Very quickly.
It always will. That is the truth. That is probably the clearest mirror that you can be in front of is someone that you are dating, and especially if you're in like a committed relationship, because there's levels to dating nowadays. But for sure. But identifying, healing the trauma is super important, and with our work and bringing women together, it's a great place to begin those healing journeys for a lot of the women that we touch, because I know, you probably get the same at the past couple of events. I just started doing events this year in January, and my first event was a vision board party. And the amount of women that were like, I needed this, and something that could be very simple to me, or I would think is like, it's a small touch, is so major and so impactful in other people's lives that it's like, okay, here's my affirmation to keep going because it's important. And I went back and I looked, this is kind of like off going in a different direction, but I went back and I looked at a note that I had in my phone from 2020, and I wrote down in that note, women's empowerment speaker. And I completely forgot about it because, again, coming to LA, the women's empowerment piece of Stizzo Speaks kind of just appeared out of, okay, here's what I was dealing with. Now I'm out doing these events with Outlet LA and I'm meeting different women. I want to go back to that place and I want to revisit changing the dynamic of relationships. And then I went and looked at the note and I was like, 2020, wow, I thought about this already. So it was like meant to be that we're on this journey. And then again, getting these women in these rooms, helping people heal. It could be something very small to us, but it's so major and so impactful to someone else that, it keeps me going. So what advice would you give to someone who is on their healing journey outside of, you said, go home, sit with it, write it down, really be in your own head about some of the things you have to work on. And then what's the next step from there? So it's like, I have my morning routine, my daily routine down. I'm getting some self-control. Like, do you suggest someone getting a life coach or going into therapy, those that are going back to those trigger places?
That's so important. Thanks for bringing that up because I have come across so many men and women that are determined to embark on this healing journey by themselves. And I always am 100% transparent. And I'm like, yo, I don't care if you don't hire me. Like, I don't want you to hire me, actually, especially if it's someone like a friend. Let me refer you to someone. But I always encourage people to get some sort of coach or therapist or mentor or whatever. I don't know what else is out there, but like to have somebody on this journey with you to help you unpack things and move through it. Because when you start this kind of journey, so I'm a spiritual life coach, so I come from a lot of the energetics of things. So when you embark on this kind of journey, you're going to bring everything to the surface, right? You're going to really feel all of those emotions again. For example, when I started to have to heal, I say have to because I had to face what happened to me as a child, with a family member like molesting me. I had to face my father being shot. I had to face the things that my mother went through. I had to face the fact that like she got into a car accident and lost her job. She literally lost her whole entire life when I was 11 years old. And then I was a young mother. There was all these things, and it's like, piles up. If you really look at your life, like if I was to sit there and tell somebody that, they'd probably be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you experienced that. And I'm like, no, chill. Like I've already like worked through that, but the normal person cannot work through that stuff alone. I had a coach for 2 years, 3 years, maybe 3 years straight as I was working through all of these different things. And what happens is as you visit one, you start to learn how it reflects into your life now. Like, what are the habits, the thoughts, the behaviors, the cycles that you're experiencing now? Oh, it came from that when I was 7 years old and this happened to me. That's the root. So now I have to work through that and heal through that. But it feels like shit. It gets very sad, heavy, dark. And I'm just so passionate. You need support. You really do need someone on the journey with you. And right now, like I have a good friend who's a guy and I'm really proud of him. He's going through this journey, but I'm like, you need help. You really need, especially the man who's not emotional. They're not trained or conditioned to be in touch with their emotions. This is like a man from the Caribbean, definitely not taught to be in touch with his emotions. I'm like, you really need someone. You need someone. So I really encourage everyone that starts this journey to have some sort of help, some sort of guidance. You need support for sure.
Especially if like you said, I'll leave it at that. You can't really figure out everything on your own because you're going to look at it from your own lens and your own perspective. And it's like getting out of that space is important. So out of all the events that you do, because there's a few different things with Empowered Women Connect, the Mind, Body,
All the
Soul
things.
Lit. Is
Yeah.
it Mind, Body, Soul Lit?
Body Fit Soul Lit.
Body Fit Soul Lit. I'm like, that's almost like a song. We can need to create a
Right?
like rap to that.
Body
Body
Fit
Fit Soul Lit.
Soul Lit.
I can see it now. So with all those things coming together, piecing together the journey completely for you, what has been like your proudest moment to date in doing the work that you're doing?
Ooh, oh man, I have to choose one. I will say it was really cool reviewing my Eventbrite. I have had 6 sold out events,
Nice.
which is really freaking amazing. You know, like even people were saying things like, "Oh, people in the city aren't going to pay for this," and I was like, watch," because like even like you said, like the simple things that we do could be huge for a woman that's just living her everyday life. What I call survival mode, because she's just moving through the motions. She's not taking time to meditate. She's not journaling. She's not, trying to heal on flip charts in her bedroom. You know what I mean? Like she's just living her life, like doing her thing, scrolling on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like the average woman isn't doing this kind of work. So it's really important for us that are on that frequency, that are here. I always say that we're called to lead. The calling is on us because we're meant to lead, right? Like you have the visions you have because you're meant to go first. You're meant to go first and bring them with you. And that's how I feel as well. Like I go through things and I call it a quick bounce back rate. So if somebody's break my heart on Tuesday, by Friday, I'm probably good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people could think that's crazy, but that's because I know what I got to do. I know what I have to do. Like, for example, Christmas Day, I was in my room crying all day because I was like whatever. We go through emotions. I was single. Yep. My kids, like they're teenagers. They don't even want to hang out. They unwrap their presents and go in the room. I was emotional. I started crying. I let myself cry for like 3 hours. 3 hours. So empowered does not equal perfect either. That's something really important, right? We all go through things, right? I remember I cried like all morning. And then like, I think it was like 1:00. I was like, fuck this. And I got up out of my bed and I went to my flip charts and I wrote down like, what are you feeling? Why? Like what are the things? And I started writing all these things. And then I started writing affirmations. Like, what is this true? Is this not true? Like, I just started going through it. Like, is this your truth? No, this isn't your truth. All right, what's your truth? And I wrote a new affirmation for myself. That was actually what I am. What is my truth, right? Feeling, alone, like I'm never going to have a man. I'm not going to have a family again. That's not true.
Right.
It's not true. It's just something that's coming up for me because I'm in my emotions. Yes. Right. So that's what I mean. Like just having that routine, having the tools, I call it a toolbox, like, so that when you are going through something, oh, okay, cool. Let me pull out my tools. Let me call my mentor. Let me book a call. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me get into my meditation. You know what I mean? Like I just have,
you have it. And I'm so happy that you said that statement. Empowered doesn't equal perfect, right? That's what you said. And that resonated for me right in that moment, because there's times where I have to catch myself, because I will have a conversation with myself and say, shit, here you are, women's empowerment speaker, mentor, coach, however you want to label it. But you're getting in this moment of, okay, now you're having an issue mentally with another woman, or you're having an issue mentally where you're not feeling empowered, and I like beat myself up about it for a half a second. And I'm like, why are you beating yourself up? You're human at the end of the day, right? So we all have emotions. And I think that's super important. Empowered doesn't equal perfect, because a lot of times we go through life feeling like we have to be perfect in almost every area, especially with social media.
Oh my God.
Especially with what's in front of us, right? We have to show up as our perfect selves. It's like we all make mistakes. We all have, moments where we backpedal. But again, it's the awareness piece. But empowered doesn't equal perfect. I need you to like put that on a t-shirt. We might need to collab on that, put up front to back, like that. That's super dope.
Yeah, I teach women that all the time, because I'm like, yo, like for example, my event, one of the girl that I said, sorry, she came acting crazy. I had to go into a room like and take some deep breaths, because I was like, yo, honestly, I want to throw hands. I'm like, she's taking me back to my high school days. I'm supposed to be Sara Empowered Women Connect, like spiritual life coach. And I really just wanted to pull my hair back and like take off these heels. Like I was upset. I felt really disrespected. And I had to take a deep breath, and I was like, you know what? We're not going down to her vibration. Like we're staying up here, and anyone that doesn't want to come with us will fall away.
Absolutely.
And and we send them, and I send her love, I send her forgiveness, I send her good vibrations. I pray that one day she becomes aware of the energy and the vibration that she's on, and she seeks healing, because I'm pretty sure there's some healing that needs to be done.
Yes.
And in Boston, there's a lot of women that I'm sorry, I can only talk about what I know, right? I'm from Boston. I grew up in Boston. There's a lot of women that are walking with their armor on. Right? They're walking with their armor on. And I understand, yes, we are strong women. I understand. But there has to be a balance, right? We still get to be divine and feminine, and yeah, like you don't have to be walking around with your armor and swearing at everybody and yelling at everybody. Like, it's okay. You are okay. And for me, when I saw that, and when I see that in other women, I send them love, because I'm like, wow, like she just needs to know that she's okay right now. She doesn't have to be ready to fight the battle. She doesn't have to be ready to protect herself 24/7. Like take the guard down and just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath and know that you are okay. I literally tell myself that all day, every day, like, yes, God, thank you. I know I am okay right now. I am safe. I don't have to be walking around like some crazy, angry person ready to fight. Like, I'm okay right now. I get to be in my divine feminine. I get to be in flow. I get to be in ease. I get to be in love.
Right.
Like we don't have to always be like,
yeah. And I recommend for anybody listening or watching, The Untethered Soul. That was a book recommendation from my panelists from last month. And I mean, listen, if you're talking about releasing armor and taking down boundaries and opening your heart for energy flow, that's the book to listen to. The audio book is like 3 hours and some change. It's not that long. So definitely The Untethered Soul, go that direction. Shout out to Outlet LA on here, putting the thoughts on trial, which you spoke about a little bit earlier, because it's so true. Like, is it true? Is this story that I'm telling myself true, or is it not? Right. And where are the facts? So that's what they were speaking about earlier. So shout out to that. Yeah. So again, empowered doesn't equal perfect. We're in a position as, two leaders, right? And that's important. And I want to touch upon the leadership a little bit, because you mentioned earlier, as leaders, we have the vision, we're driving the boat, or we're running the relay race, I'll call it, right? And I was talking to one of my youth entrepreneurs in my program on her live this week, and I gave her the example of, when you're running a relay race and someone has to pass the baton, they have to be running that same race with you and keep up to the pace and the temperature of your race. And sometimes there are people who are not in the position because they're not physically fit, mentally fit, emotionally fit to run the same race. And that's okay. You let those people go. But as leaders, you cannot decide that you'll stop running the race, right? Because imagine if the two of us were to stop working on empowering women on a daily basis, helping to empower ourselves by empowering women. Like, who else will do it? Someone else is going to pick up and start a new race. And we owe it to ourselves as leaders to keep the race going, because we were given the gift of being able to get on the mic and speak and influence other women, men, and the youth to be better individuals, vibrate higher, want more out of life, and that's a gift. That's a gift. And I didn't always take my gift of speaking seriously. Like, I used to talk about my voice and hate my voice and didn't want to speak, on this platform. Even though when I was in college, I looked at keynote speakers and I was like, that's going to be me.
Yes.
Like, that's my dream. I'm going to be on a stage one day, but never really paid attention to the fact that I have to like my voice. And so when I finally moved past that, which was just recently, in the past year, understand that I can't keep telling myself, you hate your voice, because that's the gift that God gave me, is to use my voice in this capacity to encourage people to want better for themselves. So we have to continue to run our race.
Wow. We're so similar. That's crazy.
What's your sign?
Huh?
What's your sign?
Cancer, July 19th. Why? What are you?
No, and I don't do that because our signs are not compatible. I do that because I was having this conversation with a really close friend of mine yesterday, or the day before yesterday, Women's International Day. And I'm like, I literally did not know a Cancer besides my brother when I lived back home in Boston. When I moved to California, now almost
everybody
80% Cancers, it's so crazy. I'm a Gemini, so I mean, I love a good old Cancer because you guys have true and honest emotions,
Yes.
and care deeply about other people. So
Yeah.
that's important to have as leaders and being in this space. So shout
Yeah.
out to all my Cancers. That's
Right.
dope.
That's so so in 2015 I started network marketing. I
Mm-hmm.
started network marketing for a health and wellness company. And that's what I mean by like, I've always kind of been a leader. Like when I started my team, I used to lead the team calls and I would never listen to a replay. I hated hearing my voice. I was like, yo, this is crazy. But at the same time, every time I went to one of those events, I was like, yo, I'm going to be on stage. I'm going to be on stage with a cute little suit, clicking my heels, spitting fire. Like, that's going to be me. I was like, I always knew that was going to be me. I was sitting in the way back of the room, like, probably had a babysitter for like 2 hours. And, like, that was my vision. Like, that's going to be me. I'm going to make it happen. And people would be like, okay, like, you got to be X rank to be on stage. That's how it was in network marketing. You had to reach a certain rank. You couldn't just get on stage. Like, they didn't care what you had to say unless you were, president's team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I ended up leaving the company because I was like, fuck that. I'm going to be on a stage. And from there, the next year I led my first event.
Nice.
And I didn't even know how to become a speaker at that time. I just knew that like I had it in me. And people like when I would lead the calls, they were always like, "Oh, you're so inspiring," blah blah blah. And I was like, "Really? Like, am I?" And I started to actually tap into it. You know what I mean? Like that was also on my healing journey. I'm like, yeah, like I actually got something going here. I actually got some shit to say. Like, so I started a podcast. And even with the podcast, I was like, it was like a whole thing. I had to learn to love hearing my voice. I had to actually want to listen. I had to re-listen to the episode before I launched it. And I, eventually I was like, okay, like this is cool. People would be like, I love your voice. You're so soothing. Oh, it's so soothing and relaxing. I'm like, okay, like, so like, we're just going to go with it. But yeah, I had to literally fall in love with it, with the process, everything. And like, that was one of the reasons why I started events. Cause I was like, I didn't even know how to get on a stage. I was like, I'm going to create the stage.
Yes.
I'm literally creating the stage.
If you build it, they will come.
And then from there, like people started calling me to speak for them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like it started to work like that. That's not even how most people get into it, but it worked. And, I fell in love with it. It's incredible to be in that position.
For sure, for sure. So if anybody's watching, listening, if you have a passion to speak, a passion to be in a place of leadership, definitely bet on yourself first, and you will find that others will start to bet on you. So whatever it takes to get there, do it. And I always encourage people, whatever path or passion that you have, you get better at it and you build confidence by learning more, right? And so when I say I spend like an hour a day, most days, because some days I do miss because I'm doing other things or it just, doesn't happen. But most days I'll spend an hour a day on developing my own leadership skills, because as much as I've been a leader in the position of leadership for the past 20 years, there's always something new to learn and there's always different ways to grow. And so I encourage you to make sure, like, if you have something you're serious about doing and you want to do it, go learn, get on YouTube University, listen to a book, read a book, get around those people who are in those spaces and doing the things that you want to do. And you'll start to build the confidence to make it happen. And that's what I had to do. I had to surround myself with people that believed in me, believed in the vision, believed in my journey, so that when I was starting to slip to the side a little bit, I got them to say, you know what? Stop making fun of your voice. Just stop talking about yourself in this way. Stop being negative. Stop. I heard stop so much that I finally said, you know what? Why am I making up this story that I don't like my voice? Like, who told me that, right? Me. So I have to change it. So do exactly what you want to do in this lifetime. We only get one. The root word in action is to act. So you got to start in that place for sure. So we got about 10 more minutes, and I definitely want to talk more about some of the events that you have coming down the pipeline, some of your personal coaching and what you do. So anyone who's watching it live can definitely, understand where they can find you, what they can learn more about in your space. And so I know you have the Empowered Self Accelerator program. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh my God.
Look how excited you got. I love that.
That's my baby. So the Empowered Self Accelerator, oh my gosh, that's my baby. That's the first program I ever started. This program is for women that have a passion, they have a vision, but they just don't know where to start. So this program it's freaking beautiful because the first half of the program is healing, mindset growth, mindset shifting, expansion is what I call it. Because as you're coming back to your truth is really what I call it, right? You're coming back to who you truly are, right? The first half is really focused on that. And the second half of the program is developing your online business. I've had women launch podcasts, launch online stores, launch their own coaching businesses, because this is not something to stay quiet about. Once you learn this journey and these tools, like, I'm like, yeah, go help more women, go teach more women, take all this, go teach it.
Right.
You know, it's not like, and a lot of my mentors have been in the similar mindset where like, it's not to be hush hush about. Like when you learn how to expand your mind, when you learn how to actually shift your subconscious, like you want to tell everybody about it. When you learn how to actually shift your energy in your body and like relieve yourself from being anxious and depressed and like overthinking, and you know what I mean? Because a lot of times people loop in their problems, they loop in their thoughts because they just don't know how to surrender. They don't know how to let it go. So yeah, that's what the Empowered Self Accelerated is about. That's a group coaching program. So that's actually a group of women that comes together in a sacred container, and we move together, we work together, we heal together, and we launch our programs together. So it's really incredible.
Perfect. And they can find out more information on your website about that, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Everything's in it.
I'll put it in the description.
If you open up my link tree, there's a million links. You know how it is. We do a lot of things, but you can always just slide in my DMs. I live on Instagram. So just slide in my DMs if you have any questions for sure.
Perfect. And I'll make sure I link it in the description below too. I have your Instagram at there, but I'll put your website so everyone knows where to find you. And if you think back to 16-year-old Sara,
oh Lord,
what would you tell her as Sara, the woman that you are today? What advice would you give her?
Everything is always working out for you. Everything is always working out for you. It's okay. You are safe. You are okay. And everything is always working out. So and I'll tell you all that right now, like if you're going through something, just take a big deep breath and just think about the evidence of where everything always worked out for you. You know, I was driving today. I'm like, Sara, there's so much evidence. Like it always works out for you. You're 34 years old and it always has worked out for you. You know, in life and money and friends, with family, with the guy, it always works out the way it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
And if my 16-year-old self knew that, I would have relieved myself of a lot of grief.
Yeah. But you had to go through it to get here. But I
had to go through it to get here. Absolutely.
It happens for you, not to you. And once you can decide that that's the message, everything becomes easier. But I love that. I'm gonna have to own that every day and think about that message, because you know everything does work out. Ironically, so everything happens to work out just the way it's supposed to. It may not be the way you expected it to or you wanted it to, but it worked out exactly how it's supposed to for you in the present moment.
That part.
I love that. And so I just like completely lost my train of thought. I had a question I was going to ask you and it just escaped me. But anyway, with your event coming up, you have another like a networking event coming up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So if you're local, please just drop in my link tree, because I've linked all of the events up until October. I think there's one missing that I'm speaking at a wellness festival. But so the next event, there's a networking event this month. Actually, if you're local, hit me up because it's free. The women are putting it on for free. But the next big event is actually May 22nd. It's in Avon, Massachusetts. It's a large wellness event. It's called Embodied, Mind, Body, and Spirit. So we're going to have mindfulness, spirituality, movements, vendors, music, food, drinks. It's going to be a vibe. It's going to be just, expansive. I'm really excited for it. So if you're local, like, please just get your tickets for that. And then the next Empowered Women Connect event is in October. And I really hope Stizzo comes to speak. I'm putting it on right there on the YouTube.
We're just gonna speak it into existence right now. We don't have no challenges, no bumps in the road with dates.
Right.
All will be well.
Goes with ease, man. So those are the big things that are coming up. There's little events here and there. I'm going to do a women's lunch next month. So just go on my link tree and see what's in alignment with your life, what dates work for you. And no matter what event you choose, it's going to be a vibe.
It's going to be a vibe. I love that. And what is, in terms of spirituality, I want to tap into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that also gets thrown around a lot. It's like,
yeah.
You know, understanding your spirituality. Like, what does spirituality mean to you? And when you're coaching someone on understanding how to tap into their spirituality, what avenue, what direction, like, what does that mean for them?
Yeah. So it's a little complex for me. So my spiritual background is really complex. So I grew up, so I'm American Indian, but I grew up Catholic. If you know anything about history, you know that natives were forced into being Catholic, right? And then I decided to go and get baptized as a Christian in my 20s. And I had some really tough experiences on that journey, which I don't really want to get into. But but I'm a very what's the word, open woman. Like I just did an aura scan with one of my healers, and I'm like 100% open in my crown. Like it's crazy. Like like it's crazy. Like it's wild.
I'm a wheelhouse. I like chakras. I'm like, who, what? We might have to do a whole episode on chakras.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do a whole episode on chakras. So my chakras are aligned and they're open. Let's just long story short, right? Which means that I'm very in tune. I'm very in tune with my energy, with other people's energy, and my intuition is very strong. You know, like if someone's cheating on me, I know they are. Like you can't lie to me because I'm literally.
Girl, that's a whole woman. Like our intuition is crazy.
No, my intuition is like, so anyway, so for me, spirituality is literally just trusting and knowing that there is a power outside of me. So, you know, whoever you're praying to, just knowing, like for me, it's really just being in touch with that there is a power outside of you, and there is energy, there is guides, there is ancestors, there is protection, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I'm talking about spirituality. Like, for example, like I said, I'm American Indian. So my ancestors for thousands of, years have been, praying to what they call the creator, and then when Christianity was, written and created, this and that and the other, the languaging changed. And sometimes I get shamed for saying creator, but I'm like, but my people have been saying that since they were humans. You know what I mean? So it gets very complex. So I just like to keep it simple. And I'm like, whoever you're praying to, like whoever it is, whatever that energy outside of yourself, whatever you call that, that's what I'm talking about. The spirituality, the energetics, the knowing that there's something greater than the human being. There's a spirit, there's a soul. You know what I mean? And I just have that strong knowing within me. And I like to teach other women about that because it literally is what leads me on my journey. Like being able to pray to my ancestors, to my spirit guides, to like Reiki. I get Reiki done on the regular. I'm getting certified on Sunday. Like that's how much I believe in it. Reiki is healing your chakras, healing your energy centers, really getting in tune with yourself, which brings awareness, which brings the healing, you know what I mean? So it's all connected. And just having that belief that you have help, you are protected, you are guided.
Right. I love that. Cause I always tell people too, like, I pray and I'm like, okay, I pray to God that's there's a higher energy, there's a higher power, but I'm not like pulling up to church on Sundays, cause I've had my own experience with that as a child, which, whatever. But I do believe in a higher power. We're guided by something outside of ourselves. Our soul is destined to really direct us. And I did a post about that today too, which is so ironic, let your soul guide you when your heart is misleaded. So yeah, that's super dope. I have to look into Reiki for sure. I follow a dope coach on Instagram, Lana. So I'll look into that for sure. And if you're just tuning in, you are here with us, Coffee Talks Live. I'm Stizzo Speaks. I'm here with Sara Melcher, founder of Empowered Women Connect. Yes. And I'll learn how to do those drops in between. This is the second episode of Coffee Talks, y'all. So this is going in a new direction with this Instagram, with this YouTube. But so I always like to, I'm starting because I had my best friend on the last episode, which was my first episode. So I decided from today on out, I'm going to have a signature question that I ask all of my guests before we close out. And that is, what is your absolute must do for you when you take a coffee break?
Ooh, when I take a coffee break, I want to say scroll.
Scroll on IG.
Yeah, so like when I think of coffee break, I think of like a moment like for myself. You know what I mean? So like I honestly don't scroll a lot. I don't use like I try to be very intentional with social media. And some people are like, oh, whatever, Sarah, like it's only work for you. And no, that's not true. But like I just don't like to put a lot of energy into it, like just scrolling. So when I think of that's why I thought of it, because when you said coffee break, I think of like disconnecting. Like coffee break for me is like really like don't talk to me because I'm just chilling drinking my coffee. Like it's like I'm zoning out, to be honest. You don't even understand, like coffee is like my jam. So
oh, see, we are aligned. I did the S mug for you today for my coffee mug. We got the 2 S's up in here. Well, 3 since we started. But yeah, that's exactly what I mean by coffee break. Like your moment, your time. What would you do in that time? What you must do. So I love that. No scrolling. Take a moment from the Instagram. Take a moment from social media to own your time back. That's perfect. I appreciate you so much. So much for taking the time to do this with me today. If you guys just tuned in or you're watching the replay, I'm Stizzo Speaks, the host of Coffee Talks Podcast Live, where we talk about all things leadership, lifestyle, love, and leveling up. And on today's episode, I was joined by the beautiful Sara Melcher out of Boston, Mass, founder of Empowered Women Connect. And we are so excited that you were here with us. And if you missed any of this, just scroll back because we talked a lot about leadership, what it takes to be on this path that we're on, and being visionaries and women's empowerment and what it takes to heal and what we went through in our lives. So appreciate you for being here with us for the hour. Sara, thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you. I hope you have an amazing, gorgeous rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.